Hey, I'm Alex Southey, and you're listening to Your Worst Song. This is a special bonus episode, and I'm recording this intro the night before Christmas. I sat down twice with two different festival folks, and I thought that the conversations would make kind of an interesting where are we with festivals? How poorly are festivals doing? Are they doing well? What's going on with them? What are some best practices if you're applying as a musician? Stuff like that. And I reached out to a bunch of places, and due to some scheduling stuff, it was meant to be more. But I'm very thankful that I got to sit down with Lisa from Supercrawl in Hamilton and Aaron and Kev with Wintersong. And that is the order the two interviews go in. I hope you enjoy. Happy holidays. And an episode will be out on Monday like normal. Thank you very much. I'm Alex Southey. This is Your Worst Song. Podcast. I appreciate it a lot. We met, I think, through speaking about Sonic Onion Records is maybe the first time that we spoke.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that
Been a,
right? And
it's been a while.
yeah, it's been a while. And sorry, please. So you're involved with Sonic Onion Records, which is a record label based in Hamilton, and also Supercrawl. So would you mind just talking a little bit more about both of those positions?
Yeah, I'm currently director of operations at Sonic Onion. So yeah, Sonic Onion's a record label and management company. We run three venues now as well. So Mills Hardware and Bridgeworks in Hamilton, and then Sonic Hall in Guelph.
Hmm.
And we run a bunch of events. So a lot of the time we come in as a contracted company to kind of help run events or manage events. And our major one that we have, full management of is Supercrawl. So
Yeah,
since the beginning of it, that's been us.
that's pretty exciting. Since the beginning of Supercrawl, it's been you. That's what you mean?
It's been Sonic Onion. Yeah.
Sonic Onion. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so how long have you been with Sonic Onion?
I've been here for 15 years.
Damn.
Yeah.
So it must be a good workplace, or at least better than worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've heard horror stories. It's fun working here. It's enjoyable. The team's great. And yeah, I was lucky to come in like Supercrawl 16 years old, so I came in right after the first small one that they did. So I was lucky to come in at a good time that things were kind of growing on that side.
Well, that's really interesting. You said you were 16 when you joined, which is I think is rare. That's correct, right? I heard that right? You were 16?
Supercrawl 16 years old. I was in third year university, so I would have been 20, I don't know, however old you are in third year.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was
Supercrawl is 16 years
I
old.
see. I
Yeah.
was confused by that. Okay, I was thinking, geez, you're gonna have to tell us how you get a job at 16 like that. But actually, still, my question stands because I think a lot of people in university probably feel like, oh, I love music or I love entertainment, but I have zero idea how to get into that. So I'm so curious yeah, how did you approach Sonic Onion or Supercrawl or what was the deal?
Yeah, I was really lucky. I went to Mac, and our program actually had an internship option.
Oh, okay.
It's a very short internship. It's only like 105 hours or something. But I emailed all of the record labels I could find. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of them were in Toronto and large record labels that I never heard back from. I heard back from Sonic Onion. Um, and worked there as an intern. As soon as I was done my internship, they kind of brought me on to help with Supercrawl.
How long was the
So
internship?
in different roles. So sorry.
How long was the internship?
It's only about 105 hours, so it was like maybe 3 months.
Oh, okay, okay. Yep.
Yeah. And then yeah, that was kind of leading into the summer. They brought me on as like vendor coordinator and a couple logistics type roles for Supercrawl. And then I did my master's at McMaster. And when I was
Mhm.
done my master's, they hired me full time.
So what did you do your master's in?
Communication and new media.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like you had a decent idea of the general field you wanted to get into.
Yeah, I always wanted to get into the music industry. I
Mm-hmm.
always loved music. I was very interested. The good thing about communications was that people were doing all different kind of topics as their focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I was music, but other people were doing like food studies
Oh, right.
and all different like health studies, all different kind of things from a communications perspective.
So is
Um,
the idea,
yeah,
sorry
yeah.
to jump in, is the idea that if they're all doing different subjects within the idea of communications, they're all looking at uh does that mean like the kid working on food, they were thinking about like the Food Network? Or do you mean communication as in like B2B? It could be between Loblaws and whatever.
Yeah, all different stuff. I mean, some people, so we're all doing our own kind of research projects, but
Mm-hmm.
some people were very interested in, yeah, like the CBC and like how those communication networks work, or around the world, how public broadcasting works. But some people
Mm-hmm.
were more looking into, like I looked at social media's effect on independent musicians in this area.
Wow.
Food studies person, I think, was looking at how people um feel about their food and eating habits. Like there was a bunch of
Oh.
different topics. You could kind of really cater it to what you were interested
Yeah,
in, which I
that's
really
cool.
liked.
It sounds
Yeah.
very specific. It's not just talking about it's not just talking about an action or an event, it's actually talking about how it will affect the people. Like for the
Yeah.
food thing, for example, or social media for musicians. Tell me more about what you learned about that. So so that was when you did your master's, correct?
Yeah.
And so like I don't know how long ago that was, but a handful of years ago at least.
Penny. Yeah.
And so how have you seen it since then? Like that's only become more relevant.
Yeah, it's funny. So that was in 2013.
Okay.
And social media like studies and like research around social media was a lot more like new
Yeah.
back then. Like I got Instagram in 2013. So if you think of
Wow.
like where we kind of were at that point versus now,
Good
that
point.
was kind of like the flashy thing to study. So I even got like I got a provincial scholarship to study that and all that. Now I think it's a little bit overdone. Like people who are studying social media have to go, they have to think about it more. That's too broad
Yes.
a topic now. You can't just say like social media musicians. Like it's got to
Yes.
be like how they use this to like,
Totally. It
but
needs to be
that
more involved because people like you already got there to the initial larger broad strokes.
yeah, and it's too broad now because everybody kind of did it. Like
Hmm.
so, but back then that was a very interesting topic. Um, so yeah, so I kind of studied. I interviewed a bunch of musicians. I added a survey so I could get more results from a larger sample, but just about how they were using social media at the time, whether they thought it was helping them build their fan bases or not. And that kind of thing, whether it was actually helping them in the career or was it just a bother?
Did you get an
And a bunch of
overwhelming
things
answer?
too. For the most part, it was useful. They actually felt, and funny, I was going into work at a record label at the same time, but they actually felt that it was giving them the ability to do a lot of things that the industry and record labels would have done for them in the past. There was a lot of optimism at the time. Um, I think, yeah, I think still, yeah, it's a yes and no question. Like
Yeah.
artists have a lot more abilities to do things themselves now,
Hmm.
but is there so much out there that is it really getting through because there's just
So
millions of
much.
other people doing it, right?
Yes.
So that was, but there was a lot of optimism at that time that like they had all this power to do things that before artists had to go to someone
Hmm.
to do for them. Yeah.
That's true. I don't think about that enough. That is actually a really good thing that's come with social media for musicians, is they can decide the kind of, as much as I lament the idea of like brand and all that stuff, uh, I would at least prefer being in charge of my own brand, air quotes, than making or like having it being at the mercy of a record label. Uh, just as a musician.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And the
e
previous cost of that as well.
yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
God, exactly. Well, getting back to music, you said you were always interested in music, but do you play anything, or is it more just from the sidelines? You're always really interested in that way.
I used to sing,
Oh, okay.
but I
Yeah.
had incredible stage fright, so I
Uh,
that's kind of why I went into the industry. side of it. But I come from a musical family. My dad was always in bands growing up. He's a guitar player.
Cool.
Um, so I always, yeah, I was always interested. I always wanted to work in music. My dad also organized festivals growing up, so kind of funny that I ended up doing that as well. But
Yeah, wow.
I guess it runs in the family.
So he organized music festivals, I guess?
He booked Festival of Friends, and many other festivals in Hamilton in the 90s.
Wow,
I
cool.
was
So
growing
you're
up.
sort of a dynasty, you're
It didn't happen on purpose. I don't know.
okay.
But
Dude, that's so funny how that worked out though. It's like you entered the family business in a roundabout way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, somehow. And even like when I applied for the internship, my intention was to work for a record label, not a festival.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Supercrawl just happened to be like on the up.
I
So
know. Yeah,
yeah,
let's talk a little more about that. Like, well, that's sort of an interesting angle. Did you talk to your dad about Supercrawl when you got that job initially? Were you like, can I get some pointers or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because they went to the very first Supercrawl. It was
Wow.
just in the Tivoli lot, so I don't even think they had a street closure for the very first one in 2009.
Hmm.
My parents went. They go to a lot of festivals, so do I, but I wasn't out that night specifically because it was like raining sideways on everybody and it
Oh
was
yeah.
like really terrible weather. But yeah, my parents went. And yeah, I definitely have talked to him, like continue to talk to him over the years about things and about festivals and I also, spent a lot of time at festivals as a kid because he
Yeah.
was working at them.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I had seen the backstages and everything that he was doing. So yeah, it's
Did you
interesting.
think that was cool as a kid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay,
loved
cool.
it.
Yeah, I just figured
Yeah.
I only ask because yes, that does sound cool to me, but I know for a lot of people it's just the fact that your parent is doing something can seem uncool.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
though.
No, we loved it.
Yeah, I love hearing that. Okay, well, let's talk more about Supercrawl. Let's talk more about like the festival side of things because label could be another conversation. But yeah, Supercrawl, like I think there are a lot of questions from artists about how obviously every festival is different and might have a different process,
Yep.
but what is it like each year? I am even curious about how the process starts. Like, as someone totally apart from festival organization, I would imagine you have to pick a date, you have to pick a place, although it's probably around similar places every time at this point.
Yep.
And then you figure out the acts and the scheduling. But how does that work? Like, obviously, you throw out a submission form and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But I imagine Canada famous bands aren't like typing in their little submission form thing. They're probably coming straight to you or the agent is or whatever. So would you mind
Yeah.
talking about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so right after the previous year finishes, we kind of assess everything, get all the feedback from everywhere that we need to get it from, do surveys, kind of figure out if there's anything we need to change for the next year. Then yeah, we jump into planning. So first on the artist side, like you said, a lot of the bigger artists are going through agents.
Hmm.
The headliner
Yeah.
side artists. So we're booking kind of from the top down. So yeah, the headliners are usually, unless we're having difficulty going back and forth with a couple, they're usually secured first, and it's
Hmm.
towards the end of the year. So kind of right now, that's kind of happening.
Yeah.
Our public calls for submission usually go out very early in the year,
Hmm.
next year. So say January, they come out, they're open for until March 1st usually. And then we start looking at those. There's hundreds of submissions.
Oh
So,
yeah, I'm
I
sure.
mean, it's hard to tell artists not to get discouraged. There's
Hmm.
hundreds of submissions to look through. I mean, we try to have as many local artists as we can every
Hmm.
year. I do think that everybody will eventually get their chance if they keep trying at it. But I mean, obviously, we don't have 300, 400 spaces at every festival, right? So
No,
it's
of course.
yeah, and everything operates by committee for Supercrawl. So all of our art disciplines. So we also have like visual art, fashion, theater,
Hmm.
literary arts. So there's kind of committees picking the slots for each year. A lot of times, I mean, for an artist, if they're looking at ways to be noticed above,
Hmm.
the other hundreds of people. Um, we have like having our two venues in the city helps a lot because Mills Hardware is rather small. It's 150 capacity.
Hmm.
Then Bridgeworks is bigger. So we're seeing the local artists kind of, and
Yeah.
we pay attention to who's playing at the other venues in the city as well, who's
Yeah.
opening for bigger artists, like who's around and performing, right? So we see artists go from a very small level and work their way up to play on a stage of Supercrawl size.
Hmm.
And there are other opportunities, like Mulberry Coffee House has a stage. Like there are, but to play on one of the main stages, you have to be at a certain point in your career. Like you
Sure,
have to
of
be
course.
ready to play that stage, to have a stage show that big. So a lot of times artists get discouraged, but it's like in 1 or 2 years, you probably will be at that level.
Mm.
But you kind of have to make the rounds first on the smaller stages and be ready. We're not going to throw somebody on that isn't suited to playing that size of a stage yet.
Totally. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're able to see people in the city either at our venues or other venues, start in the smaller spaces or the smaller opening spots and kind of work their way up. And often you'll see those people. You can almost follow the path of a lot of those artists getting to like a main Supercrawl stage slot.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of, I think, the path for
No,
music.
that's very, very helpful. Thank you for being so forthcoming with that. I hope a lot of at least Hamilton musicians pay attention. Also, just so you know, I'm not here to take you to task for all of the resentment maybe musicians feel about all festivals. This is just to provide some it's cool to talk to somebody on the other side, basically, is the idea.
Yeah.
Um, well, getting back to choosing acts, obviously you just kind of talked about the process in general, but I am curious if, in addition to seeing musicians performing and growing and whatever in Hamilton or elsewhere, part of it is also you're you have the headliners, and then are you almost sometimes choosing acts that are complementary to that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like you'll see we try to have a good mix of genres
Hmm.
and individuals and types of music up there. So yeah, a lot of years you'll see too that the days are scheduled accordingly,
Yeah.
so that, everything kind of kind of fits. So yeah, it might just be that the slot that we have left, and sometimes there are last minute slots that are we're still looking to fill and there's a great band, but they don't really fit with the rest of the lineup that day or the band before or after them or whatever, right? So there
Hmm.
is like a continuity that we like with the stages. Usually we try to program both of the main stages differently each day.
Sure.
So unless like it has to happen for some kind of schedule reason, like there's not going to be two rock bands on headlining
Yeah,
the
you don't
normal.
want to split your genre audience, basically.
Yeah, so usually like there'll be quite a difference going on at the same time on each stage, but yeah, that does factor into it who kind of fits with what's already on, what might be missing um that day.
Yep.
So yeah, so looking for someone who's a good fit with what we already have plays into it too.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. And are you somebody who looks at the actual, sorry, this is gonna sound or whatever. I've already put my foot in my mouth by starting the sentence this way. All I was gonna ask was really, are you actually looking at the submissions you yourself, or are you high enough up that other people are and then they're sending them up to you? I
Um
have a follow-up for
I
this.
Yeah, yeah. I usually review them and provide my input. I'm not the one doing the final booking.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, the reason that I ask is because it's still relevant, based on what you said. Uh, I it seems as though, and this makes sense, that the visual component for an artist, like the video of them performing live, that they have to include uh, with their submission, which is pretty common, seems fairly important. Am I correct about that?
If we haven't seen you play,
Yeah.
then
Then yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If we've, once again, it's better for us to have seen you locally
Sure.
around,
Yeah.
and heard of you. And hopefully, I mean, you've maybe opened, if you haven't had your own gig open for somebody that's played at our venues and we've seen
Yeah.
you, and then that's great. But if we
Yeah.
haven't, then yes, a video or some kind of like performance material would be important.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm trying to think of what other is what are there any interesting specifics on your submission form that uh are different from other submissions for, not that I expect you to be really up on what everybody else is doing, but anything notable just out of curiosity?
Um, on ours, I think it's pretty basic. We like to keep it quite easy for people
Yeah.
to do. I mean, I just like a couple things to point out. If we ask for a photo or anybody asks for a photo, please use the photo that you actually want to appear. And just please make it easy to contact you because you wouldn't
Yeah.
believe how many people, music or otherwise, we actually do want to get involved in the festival, and then their email bounces back or
No
they haven't
way.
included a proper phone number, or they
Wow.
we've asked for a phone number, but they've included an address, or I don't know. It's just like the Google Forms now are supposed to flag some of that stuff, but sometimes it's like
Yeah,
it's
it
not,
gets
the
through.
information's not there.
Oh,
Or
that's
the email.
heartbreaking.
A lot of people have problems with their email nowadays, which it's weird
Really?
to me because we've all had emails for so long, I think, but oh, that email doesn't work and this bounced back, or like I don't know, just make sure you've got somewhere that we can contact you if you're gonna apply.
Yes. That seems
Or
like an obvious thing, but I guess it's good to say.
it happens a lot.
That's crazy to me. Like,
Yeah.
phone number is almost more understandable than email. Email is like your ID at this point. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Check it and respond to it in a timely manner and make sure it works. I don't
yeah.
know.
Wow.
That'll help
Well,
you get a gig.
are you still feeling optimistic each time you do this festival? And you're just like, damn, this is a good crop of like each year. It's like exciting.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's so much. Um, there's so much again that we see all year that we'd love to include, and
Hmm.
there's so many people that apply, and even sometimes there's bigger artists, like you said, the ones that you would think would come through agents and stuff, and we see them apply through the form, and it's like, what's going on here? But yeah, there's so much, and we like wish that we had more slots every year
Of
because we
course, yeah.
can't even get in, a fraction of the people that we would want to. And there's just so much kind of brewing too, I feel like, that are almost ready. Like I said,
Mm.
like the ones we've seen play the smaller stages that like,
Hmm.
hold on, you're like almost there to playing like a large festival stage.
Uh, I'm not expecting you to say those names out loud right now, but I am curious, would you, if you felt strong enough about them, would you reach out to them and be like, you should apply?
Yeah, yeah, and we
Yeah.
do reach out as well and book um if
People
people
like
want
that
to.
on the precipice.
Yeah, 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 we reach out as well to book, but also, I mean, if I feel, and I know a lot of people in my office, if we feel that someone's almost there, like we'll maybe try to get them an opening gig or like encourage
Right.
them if they're gonna do their own like album launch show or something, maybe encourage it to do at our venue or like so that we can see them perform.
Cool. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we will try to, or if we have a smaller festival, we used to do Canada Day for the city, for
Hmm.
example, was
Hmm.
quite a big stage, but it's a little bit different
Sure.
um, audience and type of event. So maybe we give them a show on something like that and see
Yeah.
how that goes, and then you'll see them playing Supercrawl. So we can use those things to kind of prepare them as well, but also scout a little bit. So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, no, that makes sense. I think it's really encouraging to hear what you're saying, especially is it mostly focused on Hamilton bands or are people under the banner of Toronto or Guelph or whatever privy to that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. All over Ontario. I mean, we book internationally,
Sure,
technically.
yes,
With
yes.
the exchange rate, US is really hard. So
Yeah.
you'll see even more Canadian acts than ever. We used to have a little bit more US mixed in. Um, but yeah, I mean, local could include anywhere within,
Yeah.
you know, the travelable area. A lot of Guelph, Toronto, um, and surrounding areas are playing at our venues all the time as well. But yeah, we do try to focus on Hamilton acts and
Yeah,
Hamilton
sure.
artists as
It's a
much,
Hamilton festival. It
yeah,
makes sense.
as much as we can. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Just because you referenced it earlier about, I mean, obviously this will be the case even if you I have an issue of starting my sentences at the end of where they're going. But anyway, what I'm asking is, do you have plans to make the festival larger? And I asked that because you said we would love to have more people, we'd love to blah blah blah. But I'm sure that would be the case even if you had a Coachella level festival, you'd still be saying we'd love to have more people. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, always. We're
Yeah.
always trying to expand it, trying to add new components, trying to,
And
you
what
know,
does that even look like? Like when you say that, what's
yeah,
an
I mean,
example?
the problem that we've had, I would say probably since the pandemic's finished, I'm doing
Hmm.
air quotes,
She's doing air
um,
quotes, yep.
is that funding has really been cut back. So obviously we're a free
Hmm.
festival, it's a not-for-profit.
Hmm.
Um, so we don't have the benefit of like revenue from ticket sales. We have to get our own sponsors and get our grants to fund the festival. Government funding has really, really been cut back from
Yeah.
where it was, like more than 50%. So there's a lot
Whoa.
of, yeah, yeah, there's a lot of static costs to do a festival this big that we can't change. So safety, like security,
Yeah,
police,
right.
the fencing, the number of washrooms for that crowd. It
All
all
very logistical stuff.
exactly, and it
Yeah,
all adds up uh, quite a lot, right?
I'm
So to
sure.
do extra programming, there really has to be like that extra bit of funding, whether
Hmm.
it's from sponsors from the private sector or from the public, from grants. There really has to be that extra bit of funding. Like say we add a stage that we can't do that until all of the logistical items are until there's enough washrooms for everybody.
Yes,
We can't add a stage with more programming, right? So if
sure.
we want more artists to be involved, we have to find that money somewhere. Um,
Gotcha.
so I mean, we're always going to present everything at a very high level and include as many artists as we possibly can, but
Yeah,
in doing large expansions, when there's some nice bonuses, that's when we look to do that.
sure. That
Yeah.
that that all makes sense. Uh, you said the funding, at least from the government, went down by over 50%, which is horrifying. Uh, but it's obvious that Supercrawl has not reduced by 50%. I'm sure on the back end you're aware of it's taken some hits, but in general, from the outside, everything seems fine. So I guess my question is, are you just getting more from private sponsors then to sort of make up or
No, they
no?
that's also taken a hit because companies are still recovering in a lot of cases and
Right.
their budgets are also lower than they used to be.
For some reason, I didn't even think about companies providing money. I was just imagining these random rich individuals that are just like, fuck it, I like Supercrawl. I'll give them tens of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah, I mean, if you know anyone. But yeah, I think people have this very interesting thought that like I don't know where they think the money comes from, but because there's so many people, they're like, well, everybody's there for free. So
Yeah,
it, all the people that are there isn't helping us at all raise money and that's obviously the way we'd always keep it. But because it's so successful, that doesn't necessarily put any more money into the festival's budget. No, we've just had to be very, very tight and
hmm.
careful with the budget, more
Wow.
than we used to be. We've cut any frills, any extras. I mean, people that used to go to the VIP area used to be on like a raised platform.
Hmm.
Now they're on the ground.
With the rest of us
Um,
peasants.
things like that, like things that we try to eliminate the things that maybe people won't exactly notice
Yeah.
as much. But if there was fancier lighting, say somewhere, like that's gone. It's like the big
Uh,
whatever it is, we just tried to make it very, very budget conscious. We always were, but um there were some things that we've had to cut. The kids
sure.
love the foam party that we used to have. The kids love
Yeah.
it. That costs money. So like
Yeah.
some things year to year, we're like, we can't have that piece because, unless a sponsor comes in for that specifically, we don't have the budget. So uh,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
It's a lot of spinning plates.
It's difficult math. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Much, much harder math than I could ever hope to do. Uh, That no, and you make a really good point about you saying I don't know where the people don't I don't know where people think the money comes from because that's exactly what I wondered. I was like, how it's a non-for-profit uh support is going down financially, like that must be brutal. But I guess what I want to maybe end off on is, do you see any sort of optimistic uptick coming in the distance, or do you think it's just going to be a slow, low slide down for a long time?
I mean, I think what you'll see, and the other thing we had after the pandemic was a bunch of new events popping up. So the money that was there was stretched. I
Yeah.
think what you'll see is the people that are committed to providing like quality festivals and events. We all know them in every community in Ontario. There's some that are, always consistently providing quality things. I hope we're considered one of those, but I think you'll see that those festivals are able to survive.
Hmm.
But there'll be a lot of changes in the event industry, and we've already seen a lot of them go, and especially a lot of the newer ones that popped up for a year or two, because it's a really hard go. And I think when
Yeah.
people create new events, they don't realize how hard they are, and that they will probably not even break even for many years.
Dude, I created a podcast. I didn't even know how hard it would be, and this is freaking nothing.
Yeah, yeah, you're losing money for a long time in any business, right? So, I think you'll see like the uh ones that are really committed to doing what they're doing survive, and then hopefully, I mean, with every different political climate, with everything, there's
Yeah, of
different
course.
funding that it's all a cycle. So it'll come
Yes.
back, it'll go away again,
Yeah.
but the organizations that are committed to finding a way will, and we are, so it'll
Is there anything we as regular people can do to help festivals like this? Is it just other than donations? I understand that cold hard cash, money talks, but
money talks, cash is
other
nice.
than that,
I mean, support events when you're at them. So like
uh-huh.
buying a beer does help us.
Yeah, right, right.
Buying from the vendors, like supporting the events when you're at them with cash as well, but also like if you do know anyone, or if you do have the chance to communicate with larger corporations that might be putting their money somewhere, their priorities also shift. So sometimes they're focused on sports. So all the
Hmm.
big companies are sponsoring sporting events. Sometimes it's music festivals. Sometimes it's, so yeah, if you have any chance to like communicate, even if it's a survey that they've sent out that just like, these are the really important things in my community that I want supported.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe some more sponsorship funding will flow our way.
Yeah. Okay, I
So yeah,
see.
just speak up, or, post about it. The more attention there is, the more
Yeah.
attractive it is to those companies as
Yeah.
well. And yeah,
That
easier
makes
for us to
sense.
make the case, because if people like it, then they want to be a part of it.
Well, this seems like the kind of thing that, and I'll let you go after this. And thank you very much for coming on. This was very insightful.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah. Toronto has Mayor Chow, and she seems like the kind of mayor who like would be into this kind of thing. Obviously, it's Hamilton. So what I was going to ask is the mayor of Hamilton, does he provide support in any way already? Does he or she or they?
Yeah, she.
She,
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ, my
she's
bad.
no worries. Yeah, she's very supportive. We usually have pretty good support on the
Okay,
city end.
awesome.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Cool. No, I'm not asking for any,
yeah, yeah.
details or anything on that. That's great. It was something that occurred to me.
Yeah, yeah. No, the city's supportive. In all cities, I think they need to continue to be supportive of these things. Sometimes
Yeah.
there is a misunderstanding. Again, we're not for profit. I think some city representatives see it as a big thing with lots of money a
They
lot of
almost
the
take it
time,
for
and like,
granted, probably.
yeah, yeah, and like we don't need the support, or we don't need that,
Yes,
and it's all of these types of things do need need the
totally.
support and the
Totally.
help and people on their side. So yeah, if there are any like city councilors or city people listening, like we need, yeah, we need your support. Not
Yes,
We're
please.
not a big conglomerate. Like I did have somebody say to me once, like we're the Walmart or like the McDonald's compared to the tiny thing they're doing. And I'm like, you only
Wow.
knew what tight, you know, how tight everything is over here to make it work, and how small our staff is. And, so it's kind of like, if you see something that's really successful, don't always think that that means you know, they don't
Blush.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate all the honesty. I think it's really helpful to, like you're saying, like just get the word out about this stuff and have it, because that was my impression. Like Supercrawl, oh, they're probably fine. They're huge. They're well known. Like well known doesn't equate actual monetary success necessarily.
Yeah, we still
Uh,
have to work. I mean, and we raise what we need, but we still have to work extremely hard every year to
yeah,
make that
exactly.
happen. So one person at a company that wants to like fight for us to get a sponsorship from that company is huge for us. It
Gotcha. Okay.
doesn't come some like super easy
Yeah.
at this level. Yeah.
Well, Lisa, yeah, it was great to talk to you and meet you this way as opposed to just Instagram kind of stuff or email.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Too.
no, you answered a lot of my questions. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us.
Yeah, and setting it up. So, what are you guys doing right now? Just in the middle of doing something at the space?
We're sitting on the stage.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Okay, I was thinking you were in chairs in front of the stage. Okay,
Huh.
that's awesome. Yeah. What are you guys? What were you guys up to?
I don't even like our brain is just like there's so many things on the go. We're like in the midst of picking bands. I'm like booking a band for to play at Harmony Hall for next September. So I book up dates for that. We have a show here tomorrow. We have Great Lakes Swimmers playing here tomorrow. So it's
Yeah.
I'm trying to get dates organized right now.
Okay, damn. Yeah, I assume there's a lot going on. Well, fair enough. Yeah, I'll jump into it then. Maybe you can just introduce yourselves and just say like what your relationship is to Wintersong.
Whatever first.
Sure. I'm Kevin Kerr from Epidemic Music Group, the founder of Wintersong and at EMG and owner at Harmony Hall. And we are actively working on the 2025 festival as we speak. Well, not in this current second, but kind of in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
Aaron.
and yeah, so my name's Erin. I'm the festival coordinator for Wintersong, and then also the booking manager here at Harmony Hall.
Okay, great. How did you both originally get involved with Wintersong? Like, what
Um,
is your relationship to it?
well, I
So,
organized the Guinness World Record concert in 2017 in Stouffville. We put on the longest concert for over 18 days and raised about $100,000 for 17 different charities.
hmm
It was quite the undertaking. It was a massive project, and it was really, really, really huge for the community. It was I'd never seen anything like it as far as bringing community together. And then when we wanted to fly Guinness in to receive the award, we wanted to kind of relive that spirit and get everyone together again and kind of build something that we could celebrate every year without having to break the record for the longest concert every year. So we founded Wintersong as an event for the community to kind of relive that magic. And instead of doing it at one place, we decided to do it across the entire town. And we now have, I believe, 19 venues this year, which is the most we've ever had.
Wow.
Some great headliners, 100 plus bands, free psychedelic karaoke shuttle buses, yeah, a youth stage. We're doing a musical gear swap this year.
Wow.
That's a lot more than the question you asked, but
Yeah, no, I love it.
that's the whole brain thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. And Aaron, go ahead. How did you come to it?
So I went to school for music business at Humber, and then after that, I was looking for a place to volunteer, and I've had volunteered like so many places in Toronto, like
Mhm.
so many music festivals, and I actually lied on the application.
Excuse
That I
me?
was a
As we all do.
I've
That's
been
too
working for
funny.
Wintersong for like 3 years, and I just told him like a couple weeks ago that I actually lied. So I said I was a photographer, so I'm not.
That's what all photographers do.
But,
Yeah, right.
No, I'm kidding.
but I said I was a photographer and the stage manager, so they let me take photos of that like headliner that year, which was the Darcy's. I actually just got my camera like the day before Wintersong. Like, I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, like I need I can use. And I had my manual in like the back pocket, and I kept just secretly going over and like reading it of like how to like, actually use it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a lesson to the young.
Yeah. All
That's
the
a
pictures,
lesson to the younger people listening to this. Like, fake your way. It'll
Yeah.
help.
all the
Lying, you'll get a
pictures,
job.
all the pictures took were of her. The camera backwards.
Well, at least you got to document yourself, you know. Uh, uh, how does it begin each year? Like the process must eventually sort of end. There must be a tiny time where you're not
Depends.
thinking about it. Yeah, yeah. And then how does it begin to
I mean, it is kind of
grow?
a time of the year starts to come. It starts getting cold. We realize that it's on the horizon. This year was a little bit different because with the hall, we had a lot of attention on the hall and took a
Yeah,
lot of our efforts and focus and heart and energy into this. And there was a good period of time where we contemplated not doing the festival just for this year, and that would be a reasonable thing to do.
yeah.
But we got a lot of pushback from the venues and the artists and the town and the businesses, and everybody really depends on this event for
Wow.
mental health and community and tourism and everything. There's so many components to it that are extremely essential. So it wasn't much of a push that we needed because I think in our hearts we knew we wanted to do it as well. We were just trying to figure out if we could, and as soon as that happened, the momentum picked up like it always does, and it's going to end up being our biggest year yet.
That must be like rewarding in a way to feel like, are we really going to do this, and then get that little nudge from the entire from these different sections of the community and be like, no, 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 you have to do it, of
Yeah,
course. Like
no,
it, I'm sure it was like, oh God, okay, we're signing ourselves up again, and you did so much with Harmony Hall, and you're doing so much, but still, it must be like, I don't know, it must be nice to be wanted. I
yeah.
guess is a weird way to say it.
No, I was thinking about that the other day. It's we're lucky to be an event that's so cherished in the area, and we're not
Yeah,
fighting against the tide all the time. I mean, it's big, and we're a small team, so the tide that we fight against is our own ambition. But ultimately, it's nice to know that there's a lot of people behind it, and a lot of support behind it, and a lot of people that get excited about it.
yeah, I think it's really cool that you mentioned there. I think that it wasn't just the musicians, which is what you'd expect. It was a lot of the businesses that
Absolutely.
host those performances. Like I was lucky enough to perform in January of this year. I think is when it was
Yeah.
for the last year, and I was at. We can get into this name because it's interesting to me. Saints Island Pies. I was there. Great spot, every great pizza, which is what it is. But the grammar, Saints Island Pies, always throws me off. It's a
Yeah.
weird possessive.
Same.
Um,
I
but
was
is that
thinking today. Yeah.
yeah? Okay, there you go. So
I had the same thought.
these are the kinds of businesses, though, right? That we're
Yeah.
talking about, like smaller, little Main Street kind of Stouffville businesses,
No,
right?
there's coffee shops, there's restaurants, there's bars, there's art galleries, there's a library, there's theaters, there's a church.
Yeah.
Now there's Harmony Hall. Yeah, it's and every single one of them depends on this, including the town itself. For us to do this, it drives a lot of tourism and it brings the
Hmm.
community together at a time when they need it most, and that's the dead cold end of winter, almost end of winter. It kind of gives people that last little push to get through February and the early March.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Aaron, do you know how close, like, where is Harmony Hall in relation to like where that main building is that you host the panel stuff and the big acts?
I would say it's about like 10 minutes or so away.
Right. So it's all certainly if someone's coming from Toronto, they would consider that like the same area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all very much in the same area. Okay, yeah, I was kind of wondering because Harmony Hall is so. You guys are now working on it, right, and in charge of it. Let's talk a bit about that. Actually, Aaron, when I came out to one of the events, you told me, or maybe both of you explained that it was this like it's 100+ year old building and it had changed hands. It was a hall, and then for a long time it was like an underused office space. It sounds like, and so yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. So I think right before we got it, it was a Bitcoin mining operation.
Bitcoin
So
mining.
I wasn't on board for that first part of it. Probably the first 2 or 3 weeks they spent just like exposing the stage because it was all blocked off to be like makeshift offices.
Right.
But even looking back at some of the pictures when we first got it, like the space, it just looks completely different. Like there's so much more like art on the walls. There's so much more like specific details of like just our actual like, art being put into it.
Mm-hmm. When I came in there, you've added modern things. It's sound system is great. There's like really nice lights and everything like that. But it still has that feel of when I've described it to other people as like it's where they would shoot a scene of like the soldiers having a high school dance before they go off to a war. It's like that vibe.
1950s ballroom.
Yes, exactly, which gives it a very a cool aesthetic. But speaking of aesthetic, the basement is really cool, and you've kind of set that up to be a lounge. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Kevin, if you want to talk about that, because a lot of the pieces that were in there were pieces that you found.
Yeah, great.
We just pictured it being a cool, like a high school teenager's basement, but a little more, a little more equipped than that, I guess. But just cool furniture and art and installations, and as this was coming together, there were certain pieces that kind of came to my mind that I wanted to kind of build around. One is the 32-inch golden disco ball up here. Downstairs, I really wanted an arcade situation, so I found one that had 4,000 plus games in it. It's low to the ground. We found 2 little low chairs, and it's just fun to just to sit down there, play games, and then just cool lighting and paint, and it's amazing what some love and care and a bit of vision can do to a space. And we've had a lot of compliments. I think one of the biggest things is, regardless of demographic, age, genre, everybody comes in here really loves the space, and it doesn't matter if they're multimillionaires or they're just blue collar workers who are coming to see a show. It's got something for everybody. I think there's a feel of community and a vibe in here that we captured, and that was primary goal.
I think a big part of that reason why we do have that feel is because like ever since the beginning, Kevin's been a huge advocate of like this space is everyone's space. Like it's not just one, it's not just his space, it's not just my space, it's everyone who walks in, it's their space as well. So there's a lot of pieces that like other people put their, heart into, or things that they would really like. And I've been really lucky that I've been able to. I started taking Polaroid pictures of like all the bands that come down here, and they sign them.
You are a photographer now.
That's it. I just live about it. Right?
Yeah.
But just put it like, as soon as I had the idea to put them all up, like, along the one wall downstairs, Kevin was automatically like, yes, of course.
Yeah.
But found a Danny DeVito throw pillow, sequin throw pillow. So that's my
the universe sent that to her.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, yeah, I love that at the end of the list, the cherry on top is the Danny DeVito throw pillow.
That's what I'm most excited about.
Without it.
Yeah. Well, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about Harmony Hall, and that's, I don't know if it's functioning as this yet, but it will be a place where bands who are touring through can stay. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Tell me more about that. Like, so
it's functioning as that now. I mean, that was kind of the second stage of build up to we opened.
Okay.
There's a beautiful green room with direct stage access and load-in access, and then we built a shower washroom down there. And that lounge that we were just speaking about kind of converts into a living space. A lot of the couches that I acquired turn into beds. 8 to 10 people down there. It's not a hotel room, but it's a cooler space than that, I think. And so we really want this to be a place that can attract and draw artists from all over, and a community-run space as opposed to a Live Nation or a large organization. That you can feel the heart. And so far, that's been the response we've had from anyone from Chris Coster, who was formerly from the Glorious Sons, or Ash from USS. I mean, these guys they've all felt something special here, and these guys have played, biggest venues. So
yeah, no, good. Good, and I want more people to check it out. And the reason that I initially brought up that space, like the distance between the festival and Harmony Hall, is because I want people nearby in Toronto to understand that it's like the same area, because it seems like people have no problem going to Wintersong, right? But then sometimes, we worry about if Harmony Hall is like out of the way or if it's close enough or whatever, right?
To be honest, it's on the way.
So it's on the way. So
coming from Toronto would be coming off the highway onto, say, Stolber Road. We're actually we'd be the first stop.
Right, exactly. So I'm just trying to make that clear to people. Yeah. It's like the same thing. But actually, getting back to Wintersong, I'm curious about. I spoke to Lisa at Supercrawl about this, and I'm curious if it works somewhat similarly with you. Do you somewhat book headliners down, as in? Yes, you want everybody to fill out the forms and so on, and it's open to everybody or whatever. But once you establish, let's just say like 5 main headliners or 3 main headliners, if they're of a certain genre or subgenre, do you then want the smaller bands to be more complementary to that big one?
I don't think so. I mean, my approach has always been The headlines are their own thing, and we always try to get acts that we love and that we think the community will love, and sometimes expose them to new artists that are big but maybe not as well known in the area. And then the undercard we do to kind of complement that. And then the locals, we like to showcase everybody, whether it's a cover band or country band or a blues band or indie band or rock band or whatever. We want the festival to have something for everybody in it. So I think that community aspect is seen a lot more through the entire bill.
Yes. Okay. I definitely get that sense too. I'm curious about genre. Like, it seems fairly wide open in genre between the wide boundaries of folk and rock. Does it go outside of that much?
It hasn't yet.
Would you be open to it? Is it just sort of how it's happened to be?
Yeah. I mean, I think we tend to move on acts that we love ourselves. And I think that we both kind of maybe fall into that category. It's safe to say.
Sure.
But the right country act we would definitely book, and the right blues, anything. And just we look for something big and exciting that will inspire the community, inspire the local artists, that will draw a crowd. And we tend to kind of look in those areas first. And we've been pretty lucky with who we've gotten so far. We're really excited about this year.
And a big part of it too, because a lot of the venues that we have aren't traditional music venues. We have to really look what sound will work best there, what vibe like they're looking for, because it's about the community as well. Like, it's not just about what we want; it's about what what works best for the venues. Because also our big goal for a lot of the local acts playing in there is that the venues will see them play there, like them, and then book them again later on in the year.
That makes you make a really good point, especially because like some genres just naturally, if you perform them live, they lend themselves to something like that. Like, anyone could strum a guitar and sing kind of anywhere, whereas other genres you need a bigger band or you need other instruments or whatever, right? So that does make sense. I'm curious about your application form, not for any specific reason, just I want to ask from the perspective of an artist maybe looking to apply to Wintersong. Is there anything that like specifically stands out that they should really focus on the application?
Yeah, put your video in the right column. Put your video in the right column. Tell them that, because we're a small team, and when we're going through 500 applications, and it's often we won't have time if we look at a video link and it's not a video or it's a dead link. We move on. We don't have enough time to start digging through the background of an artist. If there's an artist that we're already interested in because the video appealed to us or we recognize the name, we might do a little bit deeper digging to see if there's a good fit there. But just filling out an application to the best of your ability, and recognize that whoever's going through it is going through a lot. Make it easy for them. Make the package really nice. I think another thing for us too is, we book cover bands. There's a lot of cover bands around here, and I love them, and they're necessary, and people love them. But if you are an original artist who does covers, send us an original. We'll always send an original first. Send your craft, send your art. We really lean on creativity and artistry, and not to say that there's not that in a cover band, but
of course
we really do care about the artist and the performer who's out there trying to make cover bands cover them. So we look for that kind of stuff. We really want to celebrate the songwriter.
No, that's very good advice, especially like hopefully everybody would get the link right, but that's good advice too. But I mean specifically, Lisa said the same thing, honestly. But that's specifically about if you do both, go with the original, because it shows off sort of who you are, I suppose, better. Let me see. Sorry, did I have one more question? Are there any like oddities on the application form that sort of are different than any other? If I remember correctly, your application form is fairly standard. It's just kind of like, short bio, some links, socials, whatever, right? There's no odd question. I don't have one in mind. I don't have an example, but
I think I don't think it's an odd question, but I've been approached about it. Is the LGBTQ BIPOC question? Do you recognize? Do you identify with either of these?
Right.
That's an attempt for us to really make sure that we're doing our best to showcase a wider range of people and cultures and music and identities, and certainly underprivileged or underrepresented people through festivals. And I've been approached by usually the middle-aged white male who approached me on that one, thinking fair. But
Yeah.
but it's not like that gets you in for sure. We still look for artistry. I mean, you can be BIPOC or LGBTQ plus, but you need to be good, for us to book you, because that is still the number one thing for us is the artistry. So,
No, of course. It's no,
and
I
I wouldn't say
completely.
that's an oddity either. I think a lot of festivals are doing that now, and I think it's a fair thing to do.
Yes, I agree with both of those things. It seems pretty common these days, and I think it's a good thing that it is common. That's pretty funny to hear that that's where the that's where the
Yeah, it's always
criticism is coming from.
male.
Yeah, I was like, who would even bring that up? But no, of course,
it's the white male cover band who put their video in the wrong spot.
yeah, it's the endangered white man.
Yeah.
Okay, I just have one more then, and this is more of a general question, and I don't expect you to. I don't expect you to like name specific names. Not that I expect this to be some sort of gotcha journalism question. Literally, all I want to know is, what do you think of the health of Canadian music festivals right now? Like, do you think it's a time that? How is it going in general? Because I keep hearing how tough it is on the musician end and on the. It seems like it's tough for everybody, regardless of what they do. But yeah, what's the deal with? Yes, hand up.
I'd speak more to the music industry right now.
Sure.
And I think it's struggling. I think anyone who's involved with it know that it's struggling. We're all grant funded. It's Live Nation has done their part to kind of take over a good chunk of what's happening. And I think there's a big movement for larger artists to want to play smaller towns and smaller festivals and be more involved with the community and get right to their fans and kind of
get the ticket prices down.
Get the ticket prices down. It's insane, and was kind of our goal here at Harmony Hall, was to bring that rate to town. You don't have to drive all the way to Toronto and pay for parking and pay $1,000 to see Taylor Swift. I mean, I'm not going to see her here either. But just there's lots of good music out there, and we're trying to bring that together. And I think, speaking candidly from our perspective, one of the big problems, and also they're not their fault, is the agents, because we're dealing with agents whose job it is to best represent their artists and get the most money they can.
Right.
So the conversation gets shut down before there's a chance to really discuss, what's possible, less than what we want to do. It's like, obviously we'd love to do the best we can for everybody, but sometimes it's just what's possible that matters. And I hope that agents are doing the service to their artists to get back to them with the real information, and we seem to be doing okay with that. But I think that's kind of a constant narrative.
So what you're saying there with agents is sort of like, it's their job to get as much money for their client as possible, and if you come to the agent and say, we have this amount of money for this artist, will you do it? If it's not within what their asking price is, then they just immediately shut down instead of being open to some sort of negotiation.
And it's perfectly understood that the asking price is always 2 to 3 times, what.
Yes.
And certainly there's caveats too. There's, an artist might want to play a show for other reasons, and I think for us and what we're doing, we're not getting rich on this. We're trying to do something that's important for the community and for the artists and for music in itself. So it's important that there's a further conversation, and there are some agents who are incredible. We love working with them.
Sure, yeah.
And, we don't lose sleep over this by any means. This is for a long time, but we do find that communicating with the artist first and foremost is the number one thing for us. Making sure that they understand who we are and what we're doing, and that they're on board and they're excited. Explaining that we will always do the best we can to ensure the artist is getting as much as they can out of an opportunity with us, and then often we get pushed over to the agent, and that goes well, but if it goes the other way through the agent, sometimes I don't think it ever really lands in the artist's lap at all. So,
yeah. Okay, I see. Well, thanks for answering all my questions and sitting down. Is there anything like I missed or anything you want to state about Harmony Hall or Wintersong?
Other than check us out. If you haven't been to Harmony Music Hall, it's harmonymusichall.ca.
Okay.
A stacked lineup coming up over the next few months. And
this will be out December 25th. So is anything coming past that?
Well, stuff that I can't announce right now.
Oh, okay.
There's going to be like this won't be heard until then. So yeah, we have some great shows coming up. I would just say go to the website and check it out, and maybe you can put some words on the screen that pretend to move my mouth, and but no, a lot of really cool events, things that we're really 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 excited about, and as I just kind of ripped on agents a little bit there, we're working with some really great ones who are really excited about this, and sending us some really cool acts. And there's some really cool acts that want to play here that are much too big for the space. I think that's going to be really exciting for us. So
That's interesting. So does that mean, just as a follow-up to that, you don't have to say who they are, but you meet too big for this and yet they will play it? Or what is your plan? Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Too big for it, as then they could sell the room twice.
Yes, I understand.
But they love it and they love what we're doing. They love the space. They've heard great things from other artists. And many of them know us and know what we've been doing for a few years now. And I think there's a draw in that now too. And I think that's been really working for us because, as long as we stick to who we are and our intentions and our focuses, then that'll continue to grow. So
Yeah, something that's really helped us a lot as well is the fact that Kevin is an artist himself. So he's been band traveling, going to so many different venues. So he knows, what would really make going, like staying at a venue or playing a venue so much different and put us like above and beyond like playing anywhere else, which
I actually played here for the first time 2 weeks ago, and was the best show and treatment I've ever experienced. And I said to the team, I said, I really want this day. I really want to be the artist. I don't want to think about any of the other stuff. And they did an incredible job of making me feel that way, as we do for any artist.
No, that's cool. And that's a cool experiment.
Yeah. And I got to experience what we do for other people.
Yeah.
More or less for me, but it was more than I'd received anywhere. And it was just the feeling of being here was from that end was incredible.
Awesome. You both speak about what you're doing with really like endearing conviction. It's great. I love hearing you both talk about it, and I'm looking forward to. I'll see you both soon at some Harmony Hall thing or the Wintersong or whatever. But yeah, thanks for talking to me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.